Welcome to another episode of Share My Queendom. The question I'm asking is race a thing at work?
What's going on, Sha?
I miss your face.
I know, man. Hiding out here in the wilderness, boy.
I know. How's baby and the family?
Yeah, she's doing good.
So, guys, this is my friend, the rugged Hank. There's only one. We're friends from church. We go to the
Yeah,
same church. But
we're club party people, man. Let's go
we're
club
party
party.
people.
We're club party people.
Hank, he also DJs.
Yeah.
You know, all the house vibes and all of that. So yeah, we do have a lot in common in that sense. I remember I made a little video on my Instagram stories,
Yeah.
and I said, it's not going to be anything heavy. We just want to talk. Me, I'm just like that kumbaya annoying
Yeah,
person.
easy going, yeah.
And and I'm like, oh, it's not going to be anything heavy. And people were replying like, it's going to be heavy, and I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not.
So I already know you're a proud postman, like,
Yeah.
and I know you
Yeah.
love your job and you love people. Like, what has your experience been like?
Well, with it generally, like, I have always predominantly lived, and I originally came from Hackney, but I moved out to
Yeah.
Essex. And so with that itself,
My
in the house, East London, E5, you know how we do. We've got to get real out here. So, so I'm always like, I originally come from Hackney and whatnot. So, but I moved way out to Essex, and it literally went from seeing black people every day to I'm literally the only black person in a 20-mile radius almost, like, and it predominantly. And again, it's not even that I'm the only black person. Like, I'm the only the few black people out there are all from Africa, and I'm the only Caribbean black person. So it kind of went from like having like Wrigley Road Market down the road to having field golf courses and horses just running around. So yeah.
Do you feel like you got treated different?
At first I did. At first, again, I'm not the smallest guy. I've always had this beard. So I've always.
It's an amazing beard.
Yeah, this amazing beard.
Proud of it. A lot of people trying to grow beards, but they can't.
That's what I'm saying. A bit grateful culture, This is what we do. So with that itself, I've been out, and I'm literally like at first, like I could potentially say people thought I looked intimidating. Until you talk to me, I look the part, which is not even a thing of what I do, but it's the perception that people find around me. They think, okay, he's big, he's black, he's bearded. Is he Muslim? Is he not Muslim? If I speak to him, is he going to come back with a violent voice at me? And it's one of the few things I have to start off with when I first came up out here.
So what about at work?
So with that, I work in Epping as a postman. So Epping is a town itself, but around Epping there are villages. So with that itself, when you come out Epping, which is again very predominantly a white area, you go right into the villages again, which is literally I deliver to probably 2 black families in the village.
Wow.
And I deliver to nearly 600 houses.
And here you come with your big beard.
Yeah, beard. You're rocking it hard, with my East London swagger, like, how we do, like, naturally loud and ain't scared to be boisterous. So so it was interesting because for a while it took people to understand that I'm actually as they say, a gentle giant. In what I do, and
like the party and just
this is it. For example, I've been a postman for 12 years, or in the postal service for 12 years, and I've worked in many areas before I actually settled in Epping, and it's crazy. I thought that where I would receive a lot of any type of racial slur or banter would be in those villages where it's very on diverse.
Okay.
But I spent some time in Chelmsford working out there, which I find probably more diverse, one of the more diverse areas in
Mm.
Essex. And that is the only place I feel like I felt any type of racial slur or tension, which is quite crazy. I've, in the time that I've been there, I've actually changed perception of how people actually take take on the idea of what a black man is or black person is,
Yeah.
because again, we all have this narrative, this narrow narrative that black people or black men are one type of thing. We're quite aggressive.
Yeah.
We don't have time for people. Um, we don't look after our family. We don't look after our kids. We're very just one-sided when it comes to certain things. And
Mm.
again, um, the idea that the black man is the stud of the party, and he's got all the girls, and that
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
Dancing's done.
Do you ever experience, like, have you ever been to maybe like a party where you're definitely the minority
Yeah.
and then a song comes on that's either like hip hop or reggae or whatever, and then everyone kind of looks to you like, oh look, like we're playing
When
something for you,
okay,
like dance for us.
okay, I'm the type of person, I ain't scared. I got the energy, and
Yeah.
I used to rave in Watford. Watford was my destinies. Watford was the place. I used to go
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, you name Watford, I was there, and I would turn up to Watford, and I'll be the only black guy in the phone party, shocking
Yeah.
out to some types of house that a lot of people will think man takes
That
drugs to listen to, but I
okay,
was
yeah.
there, and again, in the middle of the set, every so often a hip hop track will come, like Return of the Mac, or some cheesy house track, not
Yeah.
house track, R&B or hip hop track,
Like
and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you would think, and the thing is, like, people come up to me and start dancing and like, yeah, this is the song,
Like they feel
like,
cool because they can
yeah, this is
vibe.
it. Yeah, this is the hype. So come dance with me, like,
Yeah.
like, yes, brother, like, so yeah. So again, the energy's been, I wouldn't say racist, but then they try to identify.
Yeah, and they try very hard. See,
Yeah.
this is what I experienced that. I definitely experienced that.
Mm,
I think I experienced that in a club actually that I went to, well, a bar, I guess, in
yeah.
Shoreditch. And London's very diverse, but for some reason this club, I was one of maybe five
One of them
people.
bougie clubs in
It was,
central
yeah,
London,
it wasn't even
where,
bougie, but I was like one of five, and it
yeah,
was packed.
yeah,
And girls just kept coming to dance with me,
yeah,
oh, like like trying to make friends, and I'm just like, okay,
yeah. This is it.
woo, like it's like, all right, this is fine.
This
You
is
don't have
it.
to do that. Yeah, I
No,
experienced that.
this is it. The thing, like, I was in Brighton, literally, like, before Brighton become what Brighton is. So I've always been that type of person to just get out and go places.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I was in Brighton doing the whole thing. So like, I can dance. Dancing is like
Yeah.
one of my
We know
little
this. We know
passed
you've got
away
this move.
secrets that every so often I pull out the bag and be like, this is me
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
one. So I'll be out and I'm in Brighton. Literally, it was me on the dance floor, like, and they were playing some real hip hop, like some
Mm.
hardcore. Like, I'm like, wow, there's no black
Yeah.
people in here. Like, like, you can almost picture Westwood in the decks with only
Yeah.
in a white university. I'm literally there. I'm going hard for it, and then all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by people trying to dance and trying to copy me. Like,
And have you ever experienced any bad racism?
again, more in my younger days. I love ice skating. Ice skating is what I used to do, and I'll go Lee
Mm.
Valley and whatnot. And every so often I'll go Romford, and probably that's where I experienced probably the worst type of racism up front in your face. But
Mm.
this was like 99, 2000.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Um, and literally I would go ice skating up there, and you be there, and they'll be quite upfront and in your face
Mm.
in regards to
Wow.
like what they have to say and what they had to do. And again, but it was more like a pack mentality, like um,
Yeah.
because they were together, they will try and come at you, which again, as a young black man, you wouldn't really roll by yourself. So you'd find yourself getting into a lot of commotion in regards
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
look,
And then
and
be
then so
blamed, and then you're in a gang, and then
yeah,
all of that.
yeah, all of that. And all we're trying to do is go out, have some fun,
Yeah.
and you know, see what the local coach is about. But
Mm.
it always, yeah, literally would just turn into something else out of nothing.
I used to work for a well-known bus company,
Yeah,
and I did a recruitment for this bus
yeah,
company. And their culture was very old school. You had
yeah,
the old boys that have been working there for 30, 40 years.
yeah,
And, they had a bit of a culture. Had a lot of banter. Some of it was
yeah,
not PC at all, but
yeah,
everyone kind of got it. It was
yeah.
fine. There'll be
This is it. Like,
swearing,
oh,
but
especially like the
it was what they
summertime.
do. Yeah, there
Like
was no.
especially summertime, you'd be like, yeah, look, I'm almost as brown as you. That line.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you can't even take offense. It's just like, oh, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
But an issue that I did have that I
yeah,
didn't experience for myself, but that I saw when it came to
yeah,
recruiting people that were not English, because there was a certain
yeah.
manager there, and I just felt the racism coming out of him all the time,
Okay.
because I would do the tests for like the
Yeah,
bus drivers. So I would test them and all the rest of it,
yeah,
and then they'd go and have an interview with the manager, and
yeah,
I could guarantee every time, because there was a lot of Polish people applying for jobs, a lot of
yeah,
Polish people, like Nigerian people.
yeah,
So it was almost like as soon as he saw that the name wasn't English, as soon as he saw them extra letters,
yeah,
Polish names,
yeah.
them got
The extended. Yeah,
yeah, as soon as he saw anything like that, any
yeah,
kind of African name,
yeah.
they just wasn't getting the job. So I mean, I
Okay.
don't know. I was never in the interview room to see what happened,
Yeah,
but he would always find an excuse that in the interview he didn't come across this, he wouldn't understand this. He
yeah,
always had an excuse. But because we were seeing maybe like 40 bus drivers a week, like, so it was
yeah,
busy. So
yeah,
because I'm doing day after day, I'm seeing the pattern.
yeah.
I'm like, why are none of these people ever getting the role, but all of these people always
People
do?
are. Yeah,
There's something not right. Do you know what I mean? It was
yeah,
too obvious to me.
yeah,
So there'll be different managers that have done it, but
yeah.
I just noticed every time this particular man,
Man,
he
yeah,
picked and chose. So I noticed it, and I wanted to bring it up. I wasn't sure who to talk to about it,
yeah,
and I brought it up with one of the HR, like a consultant.
yeah,
Even she was just like, oh, like just kind of brushed it off. And it was really irking me. I'm like, this
yeah.
is really annoying me, because these people have come, they want to work, and they're the
Work.
hard, they want to work
Yeah,
hard. And I couldn't do anything about it. And, I'm speaking to the right person who should be able to, but she was just like not bothered. And she was like a
yeah,
black woman as well. So I'm like, are you
yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
So,
this is it.
I've seen it, and
Yeah,
it's a shame, because people have their prejudice in their
yeah,
head.
yeah.
So
Ingrained.
on
Yeah,
paper, you won't know. So
yeah,
you can't prosecute him for being racist, because there's nothing on. He will find a reason why.
yeah.
Oh, this is why we didn't give that person the job. I prefer to, if I was to give a CV to a manager, I prefer to give them the CV without a name on it. So you're
That's
just
the
literally,
that's the
because
funny
I
thing
can't
because
change your mind. I
yeah,
can't stop those prejudice thoughts in your mind.
this is
But
it.
if you just see the skills and the experience,
Yeah.
judge the person in that. Do you know what I mean?
But this is it because like when I drop my government name on paperwork and stuff, and then people see who I am, they
Yeah.
get really confused because they like your name. Your
Yeah,
name
yeah. We
is
wasn't
no way.
expecting it. We
Yeah,
were
they weren't
expecting
expecting.
like a ginger kind
Yeah,
of,
that's it.
really.
That's it. So normally I will get into the interview and I have to wow them because to show them like this is even though the name is I'm this black person behind the name, and this is the talent that I bring with my name. So I hear what you're saying because I've had to go into places like I've seen the surprise on their faces that the
Mm,
name and the face doesn't match. When I show them
yeah,
the ID to confirm I am the person
yeah,
that is
exactly.
in the building, like
Exactly.
they're like okay then, and then I have to do the interview and I have to show them that
Yeah, you have to really prove yourself.
yeah, this is it.
And
So
I hear mothers like when they're naming their child, and they want to give their child maybe an African name, or
yeah,
a name that has some history, and
yeah,
they're like, oh, I don't want them to have any trouble finding a job. And it's just a shame that people have to think like that. So
this
they'll
is
give
it.
them like
Yeah,
the most English name they can think of
another Jane, John, or
to try
Matthew.
and avoid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I don't know if it's getting better or worse because I've been doing recruitment maybe about 6 years or so
Yeah,
now. So it's like because I'm doing recruitment. That's when I'm
yeah.
seeing things and I'm seeing, okay, that doesn't really feel right. So I can just do my little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like in the recruitment culture, I think like I know a couple of recruiters, and they say that where before people were just getting through not on merit, but just by okay, there's a familiarity. A lot of that's kind of gone now
Yeah.
because a lot of businesses want the most out of you for as little as possible. So I'm finding
Yeah.
that they're recruiting against okay, then you work hard, come, and then I'd rather that now than
Mm,
actually someone that comes in and be like, well, I'm gonna hang around for a little while. We look similar, but you're not gonna give me
mm.
the amount of work which is required to actually
Yeah,
make
yeah. I
profit for
think
the business.
different industries. I think in different industries, yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Sorry. Fab left a comment. I know
yeah,
Fab's a teacher. She said someone a few years ago did an experiment, applied for lots of jobs with an English name and a
yeah,
Nigerian one, same jobs with same qualifications, and was shortlisted lots with the English surname.
yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine that being true.
yeah, definitely.
I can imagine that definitely being true. Hi Mark, hi Ollie. I see lots of people. Hi. Do you think it's more discreet? Definitely more discreet because we know it's not allowed, but people
Yeah,
still have. It's about trying to change the way people think. So
yeah,
that's why I think conversations like this are quite important.
yeah. I think political correctness has put a lot of people
Mm,
in the closet in regards to how they will approach stuff and what they will actually say and how they will actually maneuver around stuff. Because
yeah.
I feel like in the last 5 years where political correctness has been pushed, a lot of things have been hidden, and people think twice about how they actually say and do stuff. So there is a slight pretense in how things are portrayed and how things are absorbed and then
Mm,
pushed out to the people. I'm from the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. Like
mm.
I'm a tail end of the 70s where the freedom to say what you want to say in gesture and also in directness.
Yeah, it's too
Um,
sensitive nowadays. You
this
can't.
this is it because like I can't picture someone watching an Eddie Murphy stand up now from the 80s and being like,
Yeah,
wow, did you say that? Like you're doing big things out here, like, and I think you're really setting the trend and pushing boundaries and asking like realistic questions and putting realistic
yeah.
points across to
I ask the
people.
questions that I genuinely am asking. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah,
um, yeah, the more authentic it is, I think that there's other people that are asking the same questions. So,
yeah.
well, love to the family,
Thank you.
and we'll
Bless
speak
you.
again
Keep
soon.
well.
All right.
Yeah,
All
man,
right. You too.
definitely.
I'll
Easy.
see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Sophia.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, it's so nice to see your face.
Yes.
Well,
So
it's
lovely
funny.
to see you.
We had a little conversation today, and Sophia phoned me on video phone, and I'm not always ready. I said, "There's no way I can be on video." Sophia is my colleague. We work together currently for an international charity. Sophia's actually wonderful at her job, and I'm just always in awe of her all the time. It's like we'll be meeting, and she just knows a lot of stuff. And yeah, have you noticed any kind of the way people are treated differently in different cultures and different places that you've worked?
Yeah, where to start really? Like I think um, it's such a big topic and like a really big conversation that I think actually, unfortunately, even in the workplace and especially in like the sector where we both work in an international charity, it's actually not spoken about enough because you're working cross culturally, and I think really as well in the type of international charity or international what used to be more referred to as international development is
Yeah.
inherently racial
Right.
because it has that kind of it actually has kind of maybe a colonial implication about who are the developed and who are the developers, and who, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really fraught and massive subject that, like, I think you see in this kind of work, you see structural ways in which there is discrimination or racism or inequality. You also see individuals who believe that change comes from kind of implanting ideas from one culture and just putting them in another culture, and thinking, you know, it will work if you do it my way or our way, which is often the global north way, right? It's the way of America or Europe.
Yeah.
One of the biggest, kind of most important experiences for me was living and working in Morocco. And I was young when I moved there. I worked with a small organization, and I was one of the few Europeans there, and even in the town.
Yeah.
I think the experience was about recognizing and confronting those kind of fraught conversations, that fraught problem about the sector in itself, and facing it head on, and kind of finding ways to make the best of exchange and working together. And and then that's eventually how you actually make any change.
So in that environment, so in Morocco, where you said there was only a few Europeans, did you then became a minority? So were you treated differently, like in Morocco, like negatively or positively?
Yeah, so I think it is definitely different. I wouldn't say that, obviously it's not the same as the experience of, say, the other way around, a Moroccan coming into the UK, because the power dynamic between the two countries and historically is really different. But there is that, like, as a European working in another country, especially a country with a colonial history, you have to recognize that your skin color carries that message. It carries that implication, and I guess what my experience is reflecting on that for myself, and doing what I can to make my actions and my behavior, I guess, speak louder than that history, which is, in the end is about learning the language as much as you can, surprising people when I could speak Moroccan Arabic, surprising people with an attitude which is an I know best, which is what they would expect, actually. It's probably.
Oh, another thing I think we kind of touched on earlier, but in the workplace, like in the UK, is just sometimes it's like we don't really relate to each other very well, because we've got the cultures are so different. And what I learned only recently was how I can relate to my colleagues that are different races, is just to find that common ground, and that can build a relationship. Because I've always found that it was like there's me and there's you, and we kind of do separate things. We don't mix really. And I've worked at places like Historic England, actually, who look after like the graded buildings and all that kind of stuff, archaeology, stuff that I'm, to be honest, not interested in at all. Working as a PA for the director there, and I was the only Black person there, and everyone was really nice to me. I didn't experience any racial, no one was horrible to me. Everyone was actually probably too nice to me, that it was too much. Like, they needed to make me feel comfortable, so they were just doing the most, and I'm just like, you don't have to do all this, guys, it's okay, it's
overcompensating.
Like, it was just too much. It's like, it's all right. But even the things like clothes I wear a lot of bright clothes. Like, that's just me. So I would go in there, everyone else might be wearing like a pale blue shirt, or I don't know, a baby pink shirt, or everything was very mild. And then I'd turn up with my, you know, colours. So I guess I did stand out. If it wasn't just for my skin colour, I just stood out anyway. And then I've worked at other places where I felt completely fine, but then it was more of a mixed. So it wasn't a thing. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't anything that stood out. It wasn't even spoken or anything. But conversations are great. I think every work have the conversation. A lot of the time it's a difficult one because people are not sure what to say. People don't want to offend anyone. So that's why people are very silent, I find, because they don't want to offend anyone. So, but I think definitely conversation should be had. And you know, I remember Black History Month, where I was working, and I don't know, I think I kind of expected to see something or hear something, or just, I don't know, maybe there were mention of it somewhere, and there wasn't anything at all. And I was thought, oh, okay, you don't recognise that here then. But that was because there wasn't enough people there to make it a thing. And I think it's just a good idea for all organisations to just recognise everyone that works for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really interesting in the kind of NGO sector as well, because you quite often have these organisations and that have a HQ or headquarters in, say, Europe or America, and then you've got, you know, programs and team members in different countries around the world. And what I think goes wrong is when the culture of that organization or the values of the organization aren't inclusive of the different cultures in which you're working. And that the idea is that you see so many organizations, and I've seen these organizations operating as well, that believe that they have this kind of system of values, which is, you know, uniform. It goes throughout the organization. For example, they'd say like the office in the Caribbean needs to look the same as the office in Canada or as in Italy. But it's like, guys, I love the fact that like you want this kind of one family approach, this one world approach, but that just doesn't actually recognize that there are different cultures, and those different cultures are the strength, not the weakness of the organization. More conversations, right? That's how you get there.
The organization we work for work in different countries, and the one that always stands out to me is Haiti, because it's like I feel like I like Haiti. I've never been there. I know nothing about Haiti, but because my background is I'm half Jamaican, I'm half Dominican. So you've got Jamaica here, Dominica here, and then Haiti's here. But I know nothing about the island, and I'm working for a company that, you know, that works in Haiti. And I was hoping to visit there one day, but it was quite violent, wasn't it? So couldn't get there because
I've tried to go like 8 times.
Just can't get there. It's just too dangerous. So, and it's crazy that we're trying to do work and we're communicating by email with these people in Haiti who, you know, sometimes the Wi-Fi's gone or the electricity's gone. They've got no electricity, so I might not get a response for a couple of days. And
the team in Haiti is the team I work with most closely now. And it's really interesting if you're thinking about those different cultures in the workplace. You have to learn that that you have an instinct of a way of working from who you are and what your experience have been, which like you can't go into every context thinking that is how you're going to progress or how that it's going to work in the same way. And I think like the example of like in a low resource setting as well, where there are issues with connections and electricity, internet, etc. That's just one part of it. Like the actual technology is one part of it. Then the other bigger part is a different way of communicating, a different approach to professional relationships. Like simple things, you realize that people have different, like you have to be sensitive to the fact that different ways of referring to each other. Your colleagues might refer to each other by like they might say Miss Grant instead of Charlene, because that would be like the most appropriate way to be referring to you, and to be sensitive to that and to understand that and not think it's weird and not think it's like, don't, you know, that's also how you build on those relationships across, by the recognizing those little bits.
Colleagues as well, I'm not the most formal person, so I might start an email with hi, you know, it's not always and I know there's some, I remember someone's mum once said she hated when people said hi, it's just so common, or I can't remember bullshit. Anyway, so for me to just communicate, I just automatically think that's fine. I'm addressing everyone by their first name, you know, and you know, to them, like dealing with me for the first time, maybe like, okay, she's a bit familiar, you know. Communicate. So yeah, I've got a little bit of homework to do. Cool. But yeah,
but also that's the thing is when you build those relationships with your colleagues, like one of the team in Haiti the other day, I was like 1 minute late for a meeting, like, oh, really bad of me, I should not be late for meetings. I was 1 minute late for a meeting, and I got a WhatsApp message with like a sticker of Mr. Bean like this. Being like, I'm waiting for you, come on girl. I think your queendom needs to be shared wide everywhere with everyone. It's such a wonderful thing you're doing, and thank you so much for having me to talk about this big topic.
I went to the protest today actually in Hyde Park. It was packed. I don't know why I thought I'd find my friend. Myth, just not happening. It's completely packed, and there was so many different races as well. It was literally everyone was there, and it was really nice. People had their children. I was thinking, you're mad, because I don't know what's going to happen, but people had their children there. It was peaceful. Everyone was in it. Like even the bus drivers that were like stuck, couldn't move, were like beeping and joining, and it was a nice feeling. So I felt, for me to go down, I'm not really a protesting type, and but I just felt like I wanted to go. I just wanted to feel the energy. I just wanted to feel people, you know, that kind of felt how I felt, and yeah, I just wanted to be in that space. So yeah, I went down there, made it back in one piece. Lost my selfie stick, but hey.
Yeah, it's an amazing kind of emotive and difficult and cathartic time, and I guess it's that thing of, whilst I never understand, I stand with solidarity.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlene. Have fun. Bye.
Esther says it's going to take a very long time indeed, but it's a start. Yep. Yeah. Ace DJ.
Yo.
What's going on? Ace is my good friend, also the husband of Stephanie. If you saw the last episode, you would have heard from Stephanie. Stephanie Sounds, and this is Ace, who we spoke about. Io is also another one of those people who does everything. He's a creative director, which means.
Oh, wait, is that a question?
like what does it include?
Okay. Well, creative director is, I do a lot of different things, but like they all work together for those who love the Lord. Sorry, I had to do that. I get involved in lots of different projects in lots of different ways. And so I may be on stage playing keyboards at one thing. I may be doing photography at another thing. I may be doing like event production, or like production managing, or curating a show. And I feel like they all kind of work together to make like one good thing that is me. So it means that you can kind of call me into any situation, and hopefully I can be of help to you, basically. But also not just helping that one area, having knowledge of the other areas that are happening, so that we can make the best event, basically. That's what creative director means.
I think a lot of people know you as like to play keyboards,
yeah,
for all the stars, Uh, and I've been at a few gigs. We've done gigs together, like
Definitely.
and etc. etc. And a notable gig would be the tour. It was a world tour, wasn't it? Spice Girls.
You know what? It was the Spice World Tour. I'm sure it was intended to be a world tour, but we ended up only doing the UK stadium tour.
Okay.
There was talk of us doing US, Australia, just everywhere. And for whatever reasons, that's not happened to date. There's even talk now of something happening in 2021. Who knows?
I did call for a versus with Spice Girls and Take That.
What was with Swiss and Tim? Like they're gonna be interested? No way.
That was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, actually,
Are you
I'm
cool?
serious.
I actually heard the other day that I think versus is more of a black thing, like it's like a black empowerment thing, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not sure that you'll get to see that one in any weather, to be fair.
Becky says yes. I know that Becky will be all over that.
Isn't it?
All over. Yeah, I did get a few people just cussing me out in my DMs, and then you had the random muscle man. I think he's on here as well, like saying, "Oh, that would be sick."
It would be dope, man. Take That. I've got some amazing songs, man, and so did the Spice Girl classic.
So when you do stuff like that,
yeah,
is like your whole crew, because I can imagine the entourage must be massive.
Yeah.
Is it a very mixed thing, or even not just with Spice Girls, with other artists? Have there been times when you're just the only brown in the village?
So you're basically describing my whole career. Trust me, I've been involved in the music industry, like as a professional musician since it's been about 21 years now. 16 of them, I've been pretty much the only black guy in the band. Or maybe out of 5 guys on stage, there might be another one, and he's probably the percussionist, or maybe the drummer. But real talk, you're describing most of my career. I've looked around, and it's mostly just me, which is a very interesting dynamic. Like, I don't know if we've got enough time to discuss the music industry as a whole, really, because it's tough, man. Like, well, it's not tough, it is what it is, and now's the time to really educate people on this stuff. The music industry is inherently like kind of racist, especially in this country. There it is, I said it. And you don't have to look really far to see the proof is in the pudding. You don't even really need my personal experiences. You kind of just need to look at your TV at who's dominating the airwaves, who is getting like record deals and this kind of stuff, who are the people winning awards in categories that are seen as black categories, music of black origin, all these terms that we use. Who are winning those awards? It's not black people. You know what I mean? And then that starts there, and then filters right down through all areas, from tour management, production management, musicians, in all areas. And it's not that there aren't any black people, and it's not like there aren't any black people even in powerful positions, but the disparity is like tremendous. And you'll find most black people pretty much working with urban acts, and by urban acts I'm talking about usually rappers, grime artists. The new one is this drill artists. Yeah, and that's where you'll find most of the black presence. Move anywhere far out of that, just to like normal singing. I say normal, you understand what I mean, and stuff like that, then you're just going to start to see it is what it is.
Question Becky asked, Have you ever felt racism towards you in a band, like made you feel away?
If the question got two parts. So firstly, I would say I felt more than racism itself, as in like somebody just being blatantly racist towards me or anything like that. I felt more privilege. You know, we use this term privilege these days.
Right, okay.
And just like I'm choosing my words carefully here, guys. So if I stutter a little bit, it's not because like for fear of offending anyone or anything like that, but I have to be careful to call it exactly what it was and not take it out of context. So I've definitely felt the weight of privilege, whereby guys that I've worked with have felt that they are more deserving of position, of relationship. And when I talk about relationship, I'm talking about relationship with an artist, where you're seeing, I've definitely been in a situation where I'm seeing the artist just moving with all the white guys in the band.
Right, yeah.
And all the black guys in the band, like, it's not happening. I've definitely been in situations where like we've turned up to work the next day, and this is when you're working quite heavy as well. So what you have to understand is when you're working quite heavily on a project or on someone's album, or working on their like their touring cycle, anything like that, we do so many different types of events. So we might do a festival today, or like a run of festivals, but tomorrow we'll be at a TV station, and then the day after we'll be at a video shoot, and then next week we'll be in a recording studio. So they're all different environments, but it basically means I'm seeing these people every damn day, just in different contexts, right? So there's been times where we're turning up and it's like I'm hearing big conversations about like, dinner was so cool last night, and like, what time did you get home after dinner yesterday, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh right, did you get an invite to this dinner? Bro, did you get an invite to this dinner? And it's like, no. And then you realize it was literally all the white people that went to this dinner. And all the black guys weren't at said dinner. Do you know what I mean? Then you start seeing certain other things happen, certain other conversations, certain other things you're not privy to, and that kind of stuff. And I remember there was one gig where the racial divide was just like really obvious, man. Really obvious, to the point where like some people came to the gig, looked on the stage and was like, and I have to say this wasn't deliberate, but they literally made comments on the fact that like all the black guys were on one side of the stage and all the white guys were literally on the other side of the stage. Like,
wow. And that's just like the musician, it just the way the musicians happen to be set up, but it just happens.
Somebody does the stage plan and all that kind of stuff, and race wasn't involved in that, but how what you saw on the stage was kind of playing out in real life as well. And it wasn't that everybody was at Loggerhead's show. It wasn't that, but there were times, especially down the line, that it started to seep through and stuff started to show themselves and things like that. And just some of the things people say, because everyone's from different cultures. But I will say then that I've been in other situations where people are from different cultures, and everybody's embracing different cultures and really trying to discover everybody else's culture. So there's definitely, I guess, different scenarios where things happen, and I've been privy to both, and it is really frustrating. Honestly, the biggest thing I have felt over the years, and that's why I say like the music industry is inherently racist, because in a 21 year career, I go on stage and I basically spend most of my time standing behind white people. Simple. Simple. It's very simple. And I've played for rappers, I've played for gospel choirs, I've played for singers, I've played for folk singer, I've played for everyone, and across the board, I'm pretty much most of the time standing behind white people and having white people next to me, and that says all that needs to be said, surely.
The second one, like, have you traveled and felt being treated different by like other people, maybe like hotel staff or
all the time. All the time, going to clubs, at hotel check-ins. There was a period, right, where myself and my brother were actually doing the same gig. We were pretty much the only black guys in the setup.
Yeah.
Now, this one is less about the people around us and more about the system. When we were spending a lot of time in America, so we were traveling to America pretty much every week, every 2 weeks. I mean, like, virtually living there. Do you know that every single time we traveled, we got full search?
Just
like
you guys.
And when I say every single time, I mean to the point where like we would take our stuff and just walk straight over to them.
Yeah, because you just know.
There's a point where at LAX, which is Los Angeles airport, I got to know the guy. And it was so funny because we hadn't traveled to LA for a little while for whatever reason. We've been touring, and we went back to LA to do like a TV show. And on the way home, I saw this guy. I want to say, I can't remember his name, but I used to literally know his name. He was like, "Hey man, how you doing? I haven't seen you around here for a little while." And he's the guy that searches people. That's how deep.
So even the guy that you were speaking, was he black or white or?
He was like of I want to say he was Mexican.
Okay.
Like that side of the world. I don't know exactly where it's from. Yeah. And you know the funny thing, he said that, bro, because we had many conversations about it, like why is it always me? At first it used to really bother me, and then it kind of just turned into a joke. And he was like, even though he works for TSA, which is the American people that work at the airport, when he's traveling and he's not at work, he gets searched as well.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where we had to basically write a letter. I had to get the label or the management to write a letter to the American authorities explaining who we are, what we do, and not to check us again. And it finally stopped after about a year. So that's just one thing. I'm sure that was to do with my surname or something like that, because it's Nigerian. And I guess it wasn't too long after 9/11. I don't know. I'm making up reasons. They just flag stuff and it's racial profiling. But it's the one where you're getting on the plane and you're like one of a crew of 12, and you're the only black guy, and everyone's sitting in club. Everyone's either been upgraded or we've been booked in business class. Yeah. And I'm the only person getting asked to see their boarding pass. Like, are you meant to be sitting here? Type thing. And I'm just looking around, and like, did you get lost, sir? Excuse me, did you get lost? Exactly. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. And it's the big hollering to find you. Hey.
It's not even funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but you know, I can just see the skip.
Exactly. And what's really hard in the moment, though, is when that's happening, and because you are the only black person, you've well noted that this clearly has got something to do with the fact that they've identified you as even part of that group, because oh no, you can't be with them because you're black. And then trying to either suppress it or explain to the other people around you that what you just saw happened as a result of racism and racial bias and all these kind of things. And then seeing their faces as they go all really red and uncomfortable at the prospect of that even happening. Right. And then out of the 12 people, 6 of them being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Another 3 not saying anything, and another 3 trying to deny it. Are you sure it's that? Oh, I don't think it's that. Yeah. And then you get into the whole thing, and then remember, I'm the only black guy. So there's the whole mentality of, all right, is now the time to fight the power and explain to them why this conversation needs to happen and why it definitely was racism, even though I can't, like, we're off the plane now, there's no air stewardess to quiz about why she did that. You see what I mean? So then it becomes like mythological almost. And it's like a constant thing that you have to deal with and think about, and then think, okay, now if this happens again and I bring it up, they're going to say I'm using a race card all the time. And then that could even compromise my job because I'm making them feel uncomfortable about my experience, even though they should all be giving me a hug now. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's the annoying thing about it. Yeah. It's like you're just
and
silenced.
that's mostly that, like things like that are probably the most common things that happen like actively and practically, where it's like they're not like blatant acts of racism. Like I haven't had loads of instances where I've had people running around like shouting the N-word at me and all that kind of like, you know, those really blatant.
Happened to me once, you know. I just
really
in Hackney as well. How dare they? A group of men, like these are my ends, bruv.
Exactly.
So like literally, I was walking down the road. Sorry to cut you because I'll forget straight away. And a group of men. So I'm walking down the street by myself, and a group of men walked past, and they were like, "What do they say? Go something like go back home, you monkey!" And it's like making monkey noises and jumping around.
Oh my gosh, when was this?
I was just like, I just kept walking. I didn't even know because it just seemed like they were just being stupid because it was so extreme and so dumb. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah,
literally jumping around like monkeys, telling me to go back home.
You know what, right? You just reminded me of the only time in my entire life where I've had a proper incident where I thought, I'm going to have to bruck someone up or like defend myself. I was on the tube, quick story. I was on the tube and you could never plan this. I was on the tube by myself coming from somewhere, I don't know, West End. And I got on the train and there was this woman. At first I thought she was a guy dressed in quite mod kind of clothing. So like stonewash, denim, white t-shirt, I can't remember what you call it, body warmer looking kind of jeans. No, didn't have braces. But listen, I'm sitting there and I can just feel these eyes looking at me, Shah. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit mad. Funnily enough, sorry, I've skipped a bit. Obviously, I get on the platform now and for some reason, I bump into Aaron.
Okay, yeah.
Aaron Sokel just randomly on the platform. I hadn't seen him in a little while. So we're together.
For those that don't know, Aaron Sokel is a singer. He's white, amazing voice.
Wicked singer. Spent years touring with him, like with the choir and stuff like that. Known each other since we were like late teens. He's a bit older than me. Anyway, so we get on this carriage together and I'm sitting there, I can feel these eyes on me. And these times I'm just chatting to Aaron, we're catching up, whatever. And I'm feeling these eyes on me, Shah. But these are not like, you know, when you can feel someone staring a little bit. Like it's cool. No, this woman was, I look and I look in her direction and she's on the edge of her seat, leaning forward, looking at me like this, rocking back and forth. Almost like she's got steam coming out of her ears, right? Yeah. And she keeps reaching to her, like her inside pocket. She's rocking back and forth. And I'm like sitting there like, right, like have I got something on my chin or like what's going on? So I'm looking and at this point I don't say anything. Yeah. But I'm starting to become aware of myself because she keeps reaching, like she's reaching for something. No word of a lie. So I'm sitting there, she's rocking back and forth and like starting to like she's manifesting, like she got some demon or something, like proper moving back and forth. So anyway, Aaron's obviously noticed this and a couple other people. And I have to say, I'll never forget this. Aaron, was it Aaron? Yeah, it was Aaron was like to the woman, do you have a problem? And he starts going in on this woman and about 2 or 3 other people. And I think it was like 3 white people and a mixed race person. Yeah. Just literally came to my rescue. Yeah. And it's like, it wasn't because I couldn't defend myself or anything like that. Yeah. But as the black person going through it in the moment, I don't know, they just like, they saw that she was white and you could just see it was this blatant racist aggression. And so they just started going in on this woman. In the end, she ended up getting up and getting off the train next couple stops after some shouting and some hollering. But that was the first time that I actually felt like, right, I'm going to have to actually like defend myself, or like I don't know what could
Yeah.
happen, because either I go on the
Yeah.
offensive or I stay on the defensive, and then she whips out something.
Yeah.
And
Boy.
do you know what I mean? And it don't take a lot for you to get stabbed or something or whatever. I don't know. So I can't lie. I was a bit like, scared isn't the word, but I was really. It's after she left I realized what happened. I was like, oh right, that was like one of those
Yeah.
racist
And it could have
incidents
been
that
so much
people talk
worse.
about.
People are crazy out here. You don't know what
Exactly.
she had in her jacket.
And you know, growing up in Hackney, big up Hackney again. But I hadn't experienced a lot of that. I'd grown up in a multicultural society. Like in Hackney, Hackney there was a lot of black people, but there was lots of different ethnicities, white, Turkish, all that kind of stuff.
And
I
all
grew up
grew
in
together, like
exactly. I grew up in
yeah.
Pembury, so like you know that whole thing when people say I didn't see color. Even though that we shouldn't say that stuff, I do get what people mean, because everybody just grew up together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the first time I had a full-on like racist like experience, and I've never had one again. It's all been undercurrent. It's all been me like trying to get places with my work and my job, and just looking around me and seeing people that just came yesterday doing big things, and me, no matter how big my CV is, longer than you know what I mean, still doing like certain things, or having to work really hard to kick. It's like still having to constantly kick doors down, Shah, when other people are just walking into opportunity that haven't not even got like a fifth of my talent or experience. Because you know what, in the music industry sometimes it's not always about talent, but then when it's not about talent, definitely experience counts for a lot. So it's like with the combination of the two, I'm looking around and I'm like, well, how are you doing X, Y, or going X, Y? And you know what I mean? Myself, all my brothers around are just like struggling, or just constantly having to kick doors down. You know what they say, that whole thing about having to be twice as good to just get the same opportunities. Like that's a very, very real thing. And I've definitely felt that in my career. Yes, it's been very interesting, but I've been blessed to have like still have a great career on paper, although I still feel like I want to do so much more. And you know what, it's funny that all this is happening now, you know, because it's reminding myself and Steph of like what we did last year with Gold, that event. That was literally about all what we're seeing now and what we're talking about, just in terms of like black people not getting the opportunities or not getting the chance to be seen, even though they're amazing, fantastic artists, amazing singers. Like they're just not getting the same opportunities. So like trying to create the platform for ourselves, so that we don't have to wait on
Phoebe
anyone.
just put in the comments gold.
Yeah, man. Phoebe
Hey,
was one of the phenomenal singers on that stage. And it's like, you look at like Phoebe, you look at Steph, you look at Charlene. I can name so many. And you just look at like their peers. And sometimes you look at the timelines, like you look at people's successes and stuff like that. And man, it just doesn't match up, Shah. It doesn't match up. Like, as I say, it's a much longer conversation than now. And honestly, like, it's a deep one. It's a deep one, because you're going to end up talking about some of your friends. You're going to end up talking about some of the people that you work with. What's up, Phoebes? You're going to end up talking about people really close to home that, like it or not, won't have the same experience or perspective as you do, because you're black and they're not. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them, and doesn't mean that you're not friends and stuff, but it's
important
just the
they
truth.
know, that they hear it and know what their fellow, you know, if they love you, they need to know what pain you've got. And, you know, if they have play any part in that, it's good for them to know that, so they can help, you know, make these changes. Ace DJ. Sorry, I always sing. I'll keep singing people's names. It's not even like good singing either. It's just
Funny.
So your wife has promised me food. So soon
Come true, man. Come true. You're always cooking here.
Yeah,
come
man.
Come through. We've got the garden, so you can come and still be socially distanced.
In it, for real. I think this is definitely a conversation that needs to have its own like race in the music industry. That needs to be a
Like,
conversation.
honestly, Shah, I haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, I know you
I've
haven't.
told you like couple little bits,
Yeah.
but I
Mm.
haven't scratched the surface. And it's funny because I was thinking, oh wow, Shah's gonna ask me questions, and I'm not gonna be able to remember now. But as we're talking,
Yeah,
stuff
it just
comes
comes.
back to my head, and I'm like, actually, I can tell you
There's
loads.
a lot. But when you remember them, just write them down.
Yeah, yeah,
You'll end up
exactly.
with a book, to be fair. Just
Yeah,
write
yeah.
them down.
It, being
So
the only black guy amongst white people most of the time means I've got loads of stories, loads of, did that really just, or is it me, or is it, and you
yeah,
spend a lot of time questioning people's intentions. Because,
yeah,
like, think about it, if every time we're going out, right, so like, when you're touring and stuff like that, you're always having like group dinners or like going places together, everyone just bands together. Like,
mm,
if I notice I'm the only black guy, right, surely they must notice I'm the only black guy as well, right?
yeah.
Because they
So
can just, you see what
yeah,
I
and
mean?
I'm thinking they do see certain things. Like I think it was somebody who tagged Steph in actually. 'Cause I think I saw it on Instagram. I think somebody who was in a band with Steph and saw the different treatment that Steph got traveling as probably the
Yes,
only black persons. I
yes,
think she reposted it and I saw it and I read it.
yes.
Um,
That was
and
deep. I saw
that's
that
what
as well.
it takes. It takes for somebody in your crew,
Yeah,
like the white person in your crew, to see it and
yeah.
bring it up. You know what I mean? It takes
And you
for
know
them.
what
They
was
need
deep
to
about
talk
that,
about it
Shah?
in their place.
Because I read it same as you, and I was a little bit
Yeah,
like, rah, because these are not stories from like yesteryear, you know.
yeah.
These
This
are
is
stories
today.
from like um a few weeks ago, like before lockdown type thing, where
Mm.
you're traveling. And he was basically saying like, I saw this thing happen, but it's only now that George Floyd has been killed that I've
Yeah,
fully realized that's what
like
was
he's
happening
realized
to my
actually.
people. That is right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then
So
you
when it's
start to
happened to him,
realize
he might
this is
be
happening to
seeing it,
them.
but he's not clocked because he's not conscious.
Exactly,
Yeah, he's
exactly.
not
And
conscious
then,
of it
then
yet.
he's realizing, right, that happens to them all the time
Mm, mm.
when I see it and when I don't even see it. So it's like people are starting to realize that we've not been making this thing up.
Yeah. And a
Like
lot of
it's
the
not,
time we brush it off and let it go because it's just like, oh,
it's
just
too
get on with
much.
it.
It's too
And
much
we
to think
yeah,
about all the
you
time.
can't rise every single time it happens.
Like Shah, real talk. Around this time last year, I was on tour with the Spice Girls, yeah,
Mm,
and like that's pretty much the biggest gig anybody's ever gonna do, and I felt so
mm,
blessed to be there. But what you need to realize is, I'll never ever ever forget this one moment before I
mm.
go because time's nearly up here. I'll never forget going on stage at the first show, and everybody's got this mad nervous energy, obviously, because it's like
It's a
it's a
big gig.
massive gig. There's
Yeah.
80,000 people there in
Mm,
Dublin. We're about to go on stage, so everyone's pacing up and down. Everyone's
yeah.
just like nervous, like
Yeah.
if it or anyone drops off, like the whole
Yeah.
world knows, and it's curtains.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube forever. All of the rest of it, like just forget about it. So everyone's got this. It's good, but it's nervous energy. But I remember
Yeah.
just feeling like doubly nervous,
Yeah.
and nobody's gonna get why, or like the people around me weren't really gonna get why, because like everyone was nervous about the gig, but I
Mm.
also had the added weight of realizing I'm representing
Yeah.
every black
You would
musician.
have got a message from me. I don't shame me, you know.
Do you see what I
Don't.
mean? And so it was like the weight was doubly heavy because I was like,
Yeah.
I can't let my people down. And it's
Yeah.
like guys will never really get what that feels like.
Mm.
Feel like just being like almost not scared, but like I just knew I couldn't
Such a
drop off.
massive
Yeah.
responsibility.
And I've got like
Yeah.
20 years playing under my belt. So it's not the
Mm.
playing that was like difficult or anything, but just knowing that like I wasn't just representing myself or my family or that kind of
Mm.
stuff. I was
Yeah.
representing like a load of like young and just black musicians in general that don't usually get that kind of opportunity.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So if I screw it up, we might not see another one. And it
Yeah,
wasn't
because they will
that
say,
was ever
"Oh,
gonna
we can't
exactly.
have, we can't have no more black musicians because this is what happens." Like
You know what I
you are
mean?
literally the guy.
You know what I mean? And like, that wasn't ever gonna happen, but it didn't stop the pressure being there because I wanted
Yeah,
to make sure that like I did everybody proud. You know,
I think now a lot of people are kind of waking up to it. As in, I'm not going to use the woke word, but
but waking
like you
up
were
though,
saying, yeah, that's the thing. And I'm talking about everyone
yeah. And I think the
waking up to
music
it. So it's like
industry,
while they're awake, get into them
get there
now.
exactly. I think music industry is probably the place where we're most exploited. And the reason why I say that is because we're used for what we're used for, but then
Yeah,
discarded. You see what I mean? So there's in every industry there's kind of injustice and racism and all that kind of stuff. But I think between the music industry and probably sport, although I guess with sport the payoff is much larger. Like if I was in the
yeah,
NBA right now, I'd be sitting in a bigger pad than this one. Put it that way. But
yeah, yeah.
I guess in the music industry is the one where we're most exploited for what we have, but not
Mm.
credited for it. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, it's been great, man. I hope people have, heard some stuff that they may never have heard before.
Mm.
It's a great musician, a great creative person in the industry that's done lots, and I'm very proud, to have you in
Oh,
my
thank you, Shah.
circle.
No doubt. Thanks for
Um,
having me on. All right,
have a good
Shah.
evening. Get some
You
rest.
too. Yeah, I need it. I can't lie, man. I'm
Um,
whacked after today.
yeah, yeah. All right then.
All right,
Well,
in a
we'll
bit.
catch up. We'll catch
No
up real
doubt.
soon.
See you
All
later.
right. See
Thanks,
you
guys.
later.
Bye, bye.
Man like Dionne. So I'll start again. Dionne is a good friend of mine. We did a lot of raving together. We did a couple holidays.
No one goes raving anymore.
And no one goes with it. Who I can't. I'm too tired. I can't. I don't. I'm not interested in any clubs right now. Even though when we get let out of lockdown, I might get a bit excited. Maybe. We've done a few holidays. We worked together as well. Dylan was actually my manager in one of my jobs.
Oh yeah.
And it's mad, isn't it? Like we've actually done lots of stuff together. So what is your position? Like what do you do for work?
So currently my paid employment is I'm diversity, inclusion and belonging manager for Hearst UK. And Hearst are a publisher, magazine publisher, and they own titles such as Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Women's Health, Men's Health, Good Housekeeping.
Good Housekeeping. I always remember that one.
Cosmopolitan or Cosmo, as we call it, Digital Spy. Loads. There's like 23, I think. So there's quite a few. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. But
so Hearst kind of is an umbrella for all of those
owner,
magazines. Yeah. Okay.
The media owner, and we own those brands. And my role is to basically make sure that yes, baby, yes. My role is basically to make yes, Cardi, yes. My role is basically to make sure that the company is as reflective of society as possible.
Come on.
The thing with that is I've been in the role for just over a year and a half. I've been at Hearst for 2.5 years. And when I started, I was in the events team. That didn't really work out. And the CEO at the time he knew that the company wasn't as diverse or inclusive as it should be. So I had set up a BAME network called Hearst BAME. Follow us on Instagram at Hearst BAME. Do it now. We need to get to 1,000 followers. And I was program lead for diversity, the diversity steerco, but I was still an events person, so I was still a show director. And what happened? Basically, there was momentum with Joy put at Hearst BAME. Look in the comments, Joy put at Hearst BAME.
Yeah, thank you, Joyful Joy. Yes.
And we were doing loads of stuff, so we were essentially trying to make sure that people wanted to work there, that it felt like anybody could work at Hearst, essentially. It wasn't
Right.
just people from specific areas, shall we say.
Demographics, yeah.
Social economic areas. So it wasn't just for middle class, it wasn't just for upper class, it wasn't just
Yeah.
for white people, it was for everybody. Everybody could contribute to the magazines, everybody could contribute to the structure of the business, etc. We had done a annual calendar of events that were aimed at educating, celebrating and empowering different cultures within the business, which meant doing Black History Month. So the first year that the company did Black History Month was obviously the year that I was there when I started. So it was the first.
So before that, did they not recognise it, or they didn't do anything?
I would say essentially the minority was very small. So you have to understand that when you are a small minority, you don't feel empowered to stand up and say, I want to see this happen, or I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, if you're a small minority, you know that you are the difference. You know that people are always looking at you. And if you're constantly standing up saying, what about this? Can we do this, etc.? And other people don't understand it. My chest is quite big, girls. Calm down. People don't understand it, that you're not going to get the support. So who is going to help you put on Black History Month? Who are you doing it? How are the company going to back it, etc.? Now, my whole deal, Michelle Maxwell, I'm not quiet, really. I'm not.
We know this.
Violent. Yes, no, I'm not quiet, and I want people to understand. When I walk into a room, I'm here. I'm here,
100%.
And I don't feel the need to ever shrink myself in order to make somebody else feel comfortable. However, when you're at work, if you are the minority, you can sometimes feel like you need to conform to a certain way of expressing yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I'm someone that says bruv, fam, brethren a lot. Like, and I don't stop because I'm at work. I won't say it to the CEO, obviously. That's not appropriate. But I had a conversation with him about marriage. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to portray myself as somebody else to make somebody else feel comfortable. What I want to do is portray myself as myself, so that you understand that there are different people to you that exist, and we can both get along.
It's true. I learned that very late in life. Like I said it when I was speaking to Sophia earlier, that did I say it then? I can't remember. I'm sure I said it. That I definitely separated myself, who was outside of work, and then tried to blend in with everyone at work, because that might be a personal thing. I didn't like to stand out, so I would blend in. You know when you don't know what maybe the dress code is. So maybe your first day you dress up, check how everyone's dressed, and then I'm like, okay, let me just try and blend in with what they're doing. So I would always come in and blend into the office. Do you know what I mean? I was never coming in as myself. So that's something I've been learning over the last couple of years. It's like, I am.
It's feeling empowered to be yourself, because if somebody else doesn't do that, if somebody else isn't coming out, if everybody in the office looks one way, and whether that be all white or all black, whoever it is that is the difference is going to try, like Joyce says, to adapt to survive. However, I already think quite highly of myself most of the time. Do you understand? My name is Dionne Maxwell. That's such a name. You hear the name. Like, I feel like I should be a movie star or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
you will be a movie star.
Ring to it. Like, it's a good name. So then when I am somewhere, at first, obviously, I'm not big and bold the first day I get there. But I am very aware that when I was younger, when I was more less of myself, when I was much quieter, people would take the piss. People would take the piss and affect me, because I'm not saying anything. I'm not speaking up for myself. I'm allowing stuff to happen to me. I can only be accountable for myself. In these situations, I can only be accountable for myself. I can't be accountable for what you do or what you choose not to do. But if I don't feel like I'm representing myself in the best way in that moment, then the only person I can blame for that is myself. Do you know what I mean? There was one time I went to a T-Mobile shop, Is that what it's called now? No, it's called EE. But
T-Mobile.
at the time it was called
EE. Yeah.
and the man didn't serve me properly. And I felt like it was a racial thing, but I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
Right.
And I'm 38 now. I know everyone's shocked, but I'm 38 now. And I feel like I must have been about 25 at the time.
Yeah.
I have cussed myself out ever since for not standing up for myself in that moment. And there have also been jobs where, and I don't necessarily think it's a racial thing, but there have been jobs where it's a superiority thing, where somebody feels like because they're a manager or because certain pay grade that they're allowed to speak to you or treat you in a certain way, and you allow it. Like, you don't speak up because you feel like, well, this is probably how it's supposed to be, or
it's scared of losing your job, or
whatever. So you don't say nothing. And when I tell you about this job, I'm not going to say it on here because there are people that don't know me that well might think I'm serious. But I was not. I didn't like the lady. Let's just leave it as that. I just didn't like the lady, and it affected the way that I saw myself.
Yeah.
Which then affects the way that I put myself forward. So I'm not putting myself forward as a strong, confident black woman. I'm putting myself forward as a meek black woman. But then with that, there comes stereotypes. There comes, because I'm quite loud, not all the time. Like if I'm in a bad mood, or if I'm concentrating. So this is my concentration face, yeah? I want people to tell me what this looks like, right? So I'm imagining this on my computer screen. So I'll be sitting there like,
attitude.
But I'm reading. I'm reading what's on the screen.
Angry black woman.
I'm thinking about, did I leave the food out for the cat? Did I what am I going to do after work? Did I pick up my keys? Do I need petrol? I could be thinking about anything, but I'm reading whatever's on my screen. The amount of times that people have said, "Are you okay?" Somebody no, I'm fine. I'm just concentrating. Like, relax.
Someone said it looks happy to me.
That's because her face is exactly the same.
Oh my goodness. I could imagine, because I was always so quite, well, yeah, you used the word meek, and that's probably what it was. Even when I was working with you, you were just pretty much, even was he your manager? I can't remember. And you would literally be like, look, fam. And you'll literally talk to him like that, and I'll be like,
Can I say about Sam? So when I realised, so I have always, before where I work now, I have always worked in public sector.
Yeah.
I worked for Haringey Council, Hackney Council, where we worked together.
We worked,
Tower Hamlets, Islington, Mayor of London, maybe somewhere else, can't think of it. Camden, that was the place I didn't like. But I worked there. So the local authority pride themselves in being inclusive, pride themselves in being for all the people that they serve. They're better than like other industries, I would say, but they're not the best. Like, they're not the best.
Yeah.
They do things to make sure that their workforce is as reflective of the community they serve as possible. 100%.
Yeah.
But I remember one time, Sam, and he's cool now, we've talked about it and it's all right, but he talked to me in my appraisal and basically said to me, so black people are expressive I'm expressive. Let me not talk for all black people.
Yeah.
I'm expressive when I talk. So my hands move, my face. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm vexed, like, you know what I mean? My face is expressive. Sometimes I don't even know that that's what my face is doing. Sometimes I don't know that what I'm thinking is reading on my face, right?
Yeah.
The head of the department must have been talking to me, and he was busting joke with me, He was busting joke with me, and I'm just carrying on the joke. Sam then we have an appraisal, and he says to me, you need to remember who you're talking to sometimes, because it's inappropriate to talk to the head of the department that way. So I said to him, did he complain about it? And he said no. So I said, so why are you complaining about it?
Then
why are you speaking for somebody else? And then also he said, sometimes I was on the phone, and you deal with the public sometimes in that job. You deal with the public, and they would be asking you questions that you're thinking,
right?
And so my voice doesn't do that, but my hands would be like,
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I
So
do
I'll do that
remember the
straight
hands.
away.
Yep.
But you're doing this with your hands, etc. Yeah, you're doing this with your hands. So
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm expressing myself in the way a black woman expresses themselves, he doesn't understand that. So he felt like he needed to check me on that.
Yeah,
I had to check him on how he was addressing me. I
yeah,
said, you manage the work, you don't manage my personality. So please don't come at me like that. We sat
yeah.
in that room for like 2 hours. I kid you not. He didn't know what to say after that, but I thought, I am very, obviously I was a lot younger then. I don't know how, I was probably like 30, 31, 32 at the time. So a lot
Yeah,
younger, but I was a lot younger. I'm like
yeah,
30 now. But I'm very clear in that people will treat you the way that you let them in the workplace.
yeah, 100%.
And I am not afraid, I am not scared to call out if I think it's racism. I'm not going to allow myself to feel like I am uncomfortable so that you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
understand
no,
what I'm
it's
saying?
true. Yeah, because then you're not being yourself.
I am allowed to be here just as much as you are allowed to be here. And systemic racism has made you feel like your position is more important or more powerful than mine. And the only way you're going to realize, my friend, that it is not is when
My
I
friend.
tell you. You understand?
The head. Trish, come and get your friend.
Can I just say, there's people on here from work. Georgia, hi. Hi, David. I don't talk to them like this, but let me just say, they know me. Georgia might not as much, to be fair, but Georgia, you'll learn. But I'm generally like this all the time. The reason that I am diversity, inclusion and belonging manager is because I believe that people should be able to be themselves at work and add to a culture. It's not about you fitting in. It's not about you being allowing somebody else's comfort to outsource yours or be more important than yours. You have to stand up for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You have to be present for yourself. Okay.
I feel like I just had a pep talk. Like I feel strong. I feel like I need to go and march. Like let's go and march.
Do you know what? Because of the whole Black Lives Matter thing, it has been incredibly busy at work. My company is predominantly white, and because it's media, obviously everybody wants to do the right thing. It wants to say the right things. It wants to be supportive. And so my job means I'm basically saying, this is how we're going to do this and this is why we're doing it, etc.
Yeah.
What has been encouraging about this time is that while there are people that will say things like, all lives matter when you say something about Black Lives Matter, there are also people who are understanding or overstanding now that white privilege exists, and that white privilege is the reason why people are calling out Black Lives Matter. And it isn't to say that that your life doesn't matter. That's not what it's about. It's about addressing the fact that there is a disparity between how Black people are treated and how white people are treated. And that's what it's about. It's about closing. We want to close that gap. And right. So this whole climate, this whole chat has allowed that conversation to be more prevalent at work. It's also allowed more people to take notice of people's experiences and really look into what that means. It's less about, so talking about race at work has always been difficult. It's been difficult because if you set up a conversation for people to talk about race, generally what happens is the Black and brown people will come.
But
I already know, even if you set up something to talk about Black hair, the Black people are coming. Do you know, I already know about my hair. Like, this is not for me. Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
And what I've learned is that essentially you are, as Black people or as people of color, because I mean like brown people as well, what we end up doing is trying to educate people who are not Black, who are not Asian, or not from an ethnic minority background on our experiences, on our culture, and on our way of life. Because we are, from birth, we are exposed to white people's way of life and white people's culture.
Yeah, we know all about it, but
we know about it, and it's not even like we're okay with it. We understand it, but what we want is for you to be able to understand us as well.
Yeah, and not try and squeeze us into being like yours. Yeah,
and you know what the difference is? I don't need to go and ask you what book should I read to find out more about this. Like, people are asking me this question, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't read the books about being black. There are people that
it's true.
But it can feel like I live in a world with other people. So I understand other people have different perspectives, they have different cultures, they have different traditions, and I'm okay with that. What I don't understand is why is it taken for this to happen?
Yeah.
In order for you to see me. Not just be, but like to really see me and understand that systemic racism exists. I reckon most black people, I think now it's much different to back in the day. So racism back in the day would be blatant, like people would call the N-word, people would have signs and posters that say no dogs, no blacks,
no blacks,
Irish, or whatever. Whereas now it's more about people whispering things behind your back, you feeling excluded, you feeling like you have to change yourself in order to fit in, or you feeling like you didn't get a promotion because somebody doesn't understand how you communicate or who you are as a person. And like, everybody has an unconscious bias. Everybody. I have one. Like if I'm gonna go and get somebody to do my hair, I'm expecting them to be black. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a bias.
Yeah.
However, the person that actually does my hair, she's not black. She just works in a black salon, but she isn't actually black. But that's my unconscious bias. Everybody has one. The trick is to be aware that you have it and try not to let it try not to let it influence your decisions, so you can take it at face value. I've just ranted, like my mouth's dry like chip now.
No. Oh God, no, but it's good, guys. Basically, everyone on here, whoever works for somebody, you need to get your company to be booking Dionne to come and speak to your employees to let them understand, because Dionne will just whip them into shape. Let me just read a couple comments.
You have to be the champion, bruv. You have to be the champion. No one's going to be your champion. You be your champion.
Right. Energy, keeping it real. Camilla says, let them overstand. Because I know when I record this, the comments are gone, which is really annoying because I love the comments. So I'm going to read them out. Annie says, come on, my sister. We've got Miss Maxwell Don. Okay.
Don.
Sarita says, a lot of people do not know how to handle the way managers deal with them. That's why it's so important to have support in the workplace from ethnicity networks. Yeah.
But you also need to tell your ethnicity networks. I'm sure there's people at my workplace that experience things that don't speak up. So I don't know that that's their experience. You have to speak up.
BWW podcast says, loud it. Kylie says, talk the things, Dionne. Trish says, you good, D? You know Trish already. Camilla says, all right, I'm getting the t-shirts made. The front will say manage the work, not my personality. You better trademark that, Dionne, because that was a tweet right there. And the back will say Dionne for MP.
I don't know about
my mum says, talk up the things them. Mummy's on the line. There's an issue and it needs to be talked about, full stop. Sarita
is saying about interview processes. So I agree that interviews need to be competency based, but applications need to be competency based for interviews to be competency based, so that everybody is assessed on their skill to do the job, as opposed to how they connect with the person doing the interview, because a lot of the time that is what you're assessed on. So I completely agree. Mum also said, I think you do a better job than Boris.
And Camilla says, Boris has set a very low bar, but let me not talk on that just yet. Yeah, that's a whole next conversation. This is going to finish in 25 seconds.
Tokenism. Let me just say this then. There are 66 million people in the UK. Only under 2 million of those are black. Let that sit.
Well,
let
that just sit right there. Dionne, everybody. Follow her, D Empire.